Hey, it's a special edition of the Business on Purpose podcast. Scott Beebe, your host, where we're here liberating, literally right now, small business owners and their team from the chaos of working in their business. So a little special episode. We're literally sitting in an office of a small business owner and his team right now, and we're talking about something that is crucially important called the customer experience. So all of this is introduction, and then I'm going to take off the radio voice and then talk normally because we're in a real session. So here's what we're talking about right now is the customer experience. How does, and let me give you a little insight, how does a retail business that works both with contractors and with typical retail customers, that there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of different types of people. So even those of you who are listening, you may not have something as challenging as what they're having to face with this, because they've got all of that. And moving parts, 6 days a week, contractor base, regular customer base across all sorts of demographics. So once they have that in place, how do we deliver a customer experience? And if you need to hear more about this, go to episode 85 of this podcast. You can hear Jesse Cole talk about this. But his talk has launched somewhat of a bit of a revolution here locally around this idea. So let's talk about some of the principles that we're learning about developing a great customer experience. First thing is, it's not about the idea, it's about the consistency. It's not about the idea, it's about the consistency. So let's say that consistency is the priority of what we're going to look at here. And so even the brilliance of the idea, we were talking at the time of this recording, Halloween was yesterday, and we were talking last night how it would have been cool to have just candy and buckets and walking around when you're walking around with customers and just passing out candy. Simple. And so people begin, it's not the candy that's a great idea, it's the consistency that every Halloween you guys are passing out candy or whatever that is. And so the consistency of the idea is crucially important. There's a story told about this. It was in the book Making Money is Killing Your Business by Chuck Blakeman. He said that there was I believe it was a realtor who had been given a referral from somebody, and when they got that referral, they gave a gift, and the gift was like a weekend getaway at a resort. Well, the person who gave them a referral went and told somebody else, oh my goodness, so-and-so just gave me a great referral, and we got a weekend, or I just gave them a referral, we got a weekend at a resort. Well, that person then sent them a referral to the realtor. But this time, instead of giving a weekend at the resort, this person gave them like a really nice basket of stuff. And the basket of stuff was actually as expensive as the weekend getaway in the resort. But that person never gave them another referral again. And it wasn't because of the gift, it was because of consistency. That the realtor did not have a consistent gift given to every single person. It wasn't predictable. And so we like consistency. It's the reason you go to McDonald's and you would feel bizarre if you went to order a hamburger and they gave you tofu or sushi. It's inconsistent with who they are. Or one time when we were in college, we had a friend who made a cheese log, white cheese log, and wrapped it in pecans. Well, if you go down to a gas station, you also see Divinity, like that sugary marshmallow stuff wrapped in pecans. Well, I thought it was Divinity, so I went in for the kill and I got a mouthful of cream cheese. And I like cream cheese, but I wasn't expecting cream cheese. So at that moment, I just spit it out of my mouth. But why would I do that? It's because of the consistency. It wasn't consistent with what I expected. And so in creating a customer experience, you have to create it consistent every single time. The second big thing that we're finding out about customer experience is the implementation. My favorite quote, Joe Calloway, vision without implementation is hallucination. We love it so much we even created a t-shirt with it on right on the front. Vision without implementation is hallucination. All right, so with implementation being the key, recently we had a client came to us and said, hey, I've got a guy who is wanting to work with some competitors of mine and has come ask my permission. What should I do? I said, give me your permission. He's like, well, what if? And I said, here's the what if. The what if is, it's not the idea that matters. It goes back to our point with consistency. It's the implementation of the idea that matters. And 90% of businesses that compete with you will not implement the exact same structure that you have. So even if you went down to a competing business down the street and gave them your process, they still wouldn't implement it. And so the idea of the secret sauce or whatever, guess what? The secret sauce about Coca-Cola, I know it's in a vault somewhere, but it's out with chemists, and they can backdraft that kind of stuff and figure it out. And so having consistency to implement, and then the third thing is a written plan. A written plan. And it has to be written, not necessarily penned, Google Docs, whatever, but it has to be written. Michael Gerber, the guy who wrote E-Myth, he said, if it's not written, you don't own it. If it's not written down, you don't own it. And so there was another great guy who made a quote. In fact, I would say this is the greatest quote because it was God who said it. So God told Habakkuk, write the vision down so that those who read it may run. But he intentionally said, write it down. So what did they do? They wrote it down, stone tablets and scrolls. And so how did God himself decide to communicate with us? Written word. But what we do in business is we say like, hey man, I told him. I don't know why he's not doing it. Dang it, I told him. We didn't write it down. And then that leads to the fourth thing, is repetition in training. Repetition in training. So you guys are in here on a Wednesday at your regularly scheduled team meeting. So once you've got the written plan, you've got a commitment to consistency of that plan and the fact that you're going to implement it, then every Wednesday when you get in here, I talk about the plan. Every Wednesday. Hey, remember guys, in October we're going to be doing candy. Remember in November we're going to be doing turkey legs. In December we're going to be doing X. In January we're going to be doing X. And every day we're doing this. And then when you're in here with your team meeting, over the last 7 days, you can look and say, how'd we do? How'd we do? And then each one of you goes out to your team members and you say, hey guys, reminder, this is our customer experience, what we're doing. If you work the customer experience right, people begin to care less and less about the product. And the reason they care less and less about the product is because the product is a commodity at that point. You sell X like everybody else sells X. We've got, go back to the home builder I was telling you about. They build $700,000 to $1.2 million homes. It was a tough day when I told him that his home is a commodity. It's rice and beans. And the reason it is because when I drive through Palmetto Bluff, they all look pretty. Like all the houses look really nice. But the difference between his house and everybody else's house is not the house. Because guess what? The same guy that laid the tile in the shower at his house also laid the tile in the shower at the competitor's house. So the actual builders of the house are fundamentally the same. What's different is the customer experience. Did the customer enjoy their experience over that 12 to 18 months that it took to build a house, or did they hate the experience? And so when they come here, you guys have a value of the I can't miss it experience. The only way that experience is going to get laid out is if you have constant training on a written plan, you've got consistency that it's the same over time, and you implement that over and over and over again. Does that make sense?